Hello and welcome everyone to Galactic Gumbo episode 40. This is your nerd topic show. We've got ranking, we've got verses going on. We're going to talk about the Thundercats cartoon, our kind of thoughts on that. We're going to be talking about G1 Transformers that we think that they should reissue sooner than later, and a few other things as well. So we're going to first start off with introductions and tell people where they can find you. We'll go ahead and start off with Dr. Prime.
Hello, you guys can find me, I think, I only have, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all Dr. Prime, so.
All right, and Rick?
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Shatrdglassjazz.
And Sportimus?
You can find me on YouTube as Sportimus and on Twitter as Sportimus Prime.
All right, and you can find me G1 Extron on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, the G1 Extron. All right, so let's go ahead and get into hauls. What do you guys got for the past couple of weeks? You don't have to get into grocery shopping or anything like that. We'll just try to keep it strictly toys and collecting. Whoever wants to, who's got their list ready? I see Dr. Prime's like looking around the room, so he's kind of like me, like he just stashes stuff all over the room, so like he'll find it like 3 weeks later, and it's like a
Exactly. What have I gotten recently? I've lost track. Mainly studio series thus far.
Okay, studio series Transformers.
Yeah, Prime, Bead, Stinger, and Crowbar.
Gotcha. What about you, Rick? Tell me about all the hot toys you got.
I haven't gotten any hot toys lately. At least, I haven't gotten any in a while. There's been a lull, which means I can go into my other stuff and do some damage, which is easy to do. I got my Takara Great Shot and Grand Max just got here, like within the last 2 weeks. I've messed with Great Shot, and I really like that. They did a good job with him. Colors and all the paint and stuff look great. Grand Max I have not opened yet. I got I went vintage on some G.I. Joe stuff, and I got a Mitten Box Equalizer, and I got the Sergeant's Marauders Lowlight and Footloose, and then I went in and got the 1982 Mobile Missile System, which I had never had that. It's a little accessory, but it looks really good with the original squad. And then I backtracked and got the DC Icons Dark Side and Grail, which I had just been waiting for that to go down, like to half price. And it took a while, but I got that. And I got a DC Icons Joker. That was another one that I'd skipped.
Oh, it's excellent.
Yeah. And then the last thing on my list, I haven't opened it yet, but I got the Iron Factory Cygnus, which is like their Jetfire. It's a little bit Stormbringer. It's a little bit, it's kind of a mixture of Jetfires, but it looks good. I can't wait to mess with it.
That Grand Max, if you never open it, then you never have to put the stickers on. So that's like the one positive there.
That 2 hour, I'm never going to get that 2 hours back. That's for sure.
No, I think that's why you have kids. That way, if you could at least train them how to put the stickers on properly, then it's like, all the money that they cost, it was totally worth it.
I'm too specific, man. When I do it, I got my tweezers and like I'm really like careful. I'm that person.
Oh yeah.
So it takes me forever.
What about you, Sportimus?
Oh, not too much. I took advantage of the Toys R Us 50% off sale, and I got the interactive Darth Vader for $50, basically. And I got, the that MP14 Red Alert, the Plus version.
Okay, yeah.
Your video just pushed me over. I had to get it, so I can't wait to get that. It's in the door, so.
As far as me, I've got a few different art prints from Little Rock Comic Con. I got the Target exclusive Chewbacca. I've got 2 of the Range Troopers for all Black Series stuff. 1 set of Porgs, which, man, these things are so expensive. These little Porgs, it's just a little 2-pack of these, $8. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But then I ended up getting the box version of the Death Squad Commander, I believe is what his name is. It's a different face, so it's a variant from the 40th anniversary one. And then I got Tarkin as well.
The Death Squad Commander, is that the black box, the black and red box?
Yeah, it's like this box right here.
Black series. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, and some NECA stands, and that's really all I can think of. Like everything else, like I haven't shipped to myself yet. So, I know it's pretty easy to do, but it's $4, and I've said it many times. I'm very cheap. So, man, it starts adding up. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into Mount Rushmore. So the Mount Rushmore we're going to be doing is Transformers combiners. This can be, it doesn't have to be G1. It can just be any of the Transformer combiners in the universe. But we're not going to base it on toy. We're going to base it on like cartoon representation. So whether you want to pick this lineup based on, because they look cool as far as the way they're animated, or they have core vehicles or beast or whatever, or you just like the character's bio or whatever, you can pick it on that. But we're basically doing it on cartoon. So anyone have theirs ready? I know I've got mine, but
I've got mine.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I'm trying to figure if I want to order. I'm gonna put them in order. So number 4 for me would be Minosaur, and really that's more about like the idea of the Stunticons just coming together. I really like the individual characters a whole lot, and I like the idea of all of them making like this kind of a little more sleek but crazy combiner. I like the colors. The next one for me would be Predaking. And since it's just cartoon, they didn't give us a whole lot for Predaking. The Call of the Primitives is pretty cool. There's a few episodes that were pretty cool. But man, his silhouette, cartoon or toy, it doesn't matter. His silhouette is like second to none. Like, I love the idea of like all the animals and stuff too. Like it's all the badass animals. So Predaking's in there. The next one, I got to go a little bit Japanese with this one. So once I saw the Victory series, I started like really digging Leo Kaiser, and I like the character. I like Leo Zach, and I like Hellbat. They're just kind of like a little bit wacky, and I just like them. So Leo Kaiser's in there at number 2. But since we're talking cartoon, I figured my number 1 has to be like Devastator, because they made such a big deal, in that at the end of the first season or whatever, when they put up the Constructicons versus the Dinobots kind of scene, and that left an impression on me because I remember sitting in the floor that day. I think the name of the episode was Heavy Metal, and I remember sitting in the floor, and when it came up and they were like phase 1 transform, and then they did phase 2, and as a kid I was like, what the heck is phase 2? I don't even know what's going to happen. There was, the toy wasn't out. No one had seen like the combination outside of like Voltron and some of that other stuff. So when my Transformers started combining, it left an impression. So Devastator has to be my number 1. And they gave him a lot of attention on the cartoon as well and made him super powerful. And so he's my number 1.
All right. Sportimus, you want to go?
Sure. Let's see. I like the aerial bots because they seem, for whatever reason, cohesive to me. You had a proportionate robot. You didn't have like a motorcycle hanging off one arm and a helicopter on the other. Just with the aerial bots with Superion, it all looked proportionate, and I just liked the way that was. And I like the way they were at first thinking that they were better than the Autobots and they didn't need them. And that episode where they sort of learned their lesson was kind of a cool one. I don't remember the name of it, but
yeah, they go back in time.
Yeah, and they basically save Optimus Prime or something. I can't remember, but it was a pretty cool episode. I also like the Stunticons, Minosaur, for pretty much similar reasons as Rick. I just thought that they were really cool, and I dug the tricks that they could do, but and it was an imposing design too, so I love that. And I also like the protective bots. What was his name? Defensor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That episode where they just formed Defensor, and he just pounds. Who was it? The other combiner, the Combaticons.
Bruticus.
Yeah, he just trashes them in like mere seconds and just walks away. It's like, okay, you're done. Bye. That always I found to be humorous. Like he just wasted him and didn't even break a sweat. And being a bunch of pacifists, that was kind of funny too. So, last but not least, I'd have to go again with the Constructicons because, like you said, Rick, that was like the first time we've seen a combiner in Transformers, and that was like, whoa, man! And he was a big deal. He was a handful for the Autobots. So that's my 4.
Dr. Prime.
All right. 4 of my favorites. Well, Devastator was one of my choices. I just like Devastator because 1, he's massive. 2, he's destructive as all get out. And I think he is the strongest combiner. I think. I could be wrong about that.
It's debatable, but he's definitely strong.
Yeah. The next one would probably be Predaking. Had a thing for beasts since I was a kid, especially cheetahs and lions. So Predaking won me over instantly. The fact and that he has more firepower than I think any other combiner. Then the next one was Bruticus, just because that is my favorite combiner. Military vehicles were, to me, like awesome. And I don't know if this one counts or not. Does Volcanicus count?
What is it?
Volcanicus.
Oh, that's it's a combiner in a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
Is it in a cartoon?
If we count Power of the Primes as a cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah.
Volcanicus. Can't speak now. Great. Volcanicus just because it's the Dinobots.
Okay. But Dakota's not even here, man. Put a little Primal Sabbath like on me. It's like he always does that stuff where he's like, "Well, you didn't say I couldn't do this."
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So for mine, I didn't really do these in an order, but I'd say probably one of my favorites out of all of them is going to be the Terracons, Abominus, just because I love the colors in them, and I like that all the beasts are like weird looking beasts,
Yeah.
So I like that. The head sculpts, whenever you looked at the cartoon, the face sculpts and head sculpts for all of them looked really cool. So I like that. And I guess I just got a thing for the combiner heads where they have the 2 antennas and they have a face. Instead of a mouth plate. I like the face for the combiners. So I guess that was one thing that I never liked Bruticus's face because he had the mouth plate, but I guess that would have been too many faces. And anyways, it's a nice mixture, but I like Abominus for that. Predaking, just those wings coming out the back, and then the cannons up at the top, and a cannon on the arm. The guy has a sword. They're all beasts, and they're just really cool looking. And the few episodes that we did see them, man, especially you got to go back to Power of the Primes, or not Power of the Primes. What am I thinking? Call of the Primitives.
Yeah.
Where it was like that Japanese animating studio instead of American.
Yeah.
Where if you look at Abominus and Predaking in that, or even Skylinks, like all of them, they're like, whoa, why couldn't every episode been done like this? It was so good.
Close to the animated movie. Close to it.
Yeah, it's right up there. So also just the name Predaking. That just sounds badass. And Abominus, that sounds badass too. But I guess third, I did Kaiser. Just because, again, I like a lot of the colors in there, and I like that it's kind of a mixture of what you get there. And again, like I like Leo Zach and Hellbat. You know, they were pretty cool characters. Especially how Hellbat kind of, I guess, tricks Death Cobra, and where Death Cobra was originally going to be, you know, part of the Combiner, and ends up killing him and blaming it on, I think, the Autobots or humans or something. I forget. It's been a while since I watched the series. So, and then again, I'm going to go with Computron just because they're futuristic vehicles, just like the Terracons. They don't have to be based off anything. They're like, hey, we're going to make one like a jet, one a car, or two jets, but you know, one a car, one motorcycle, and a drill tank. Just a little kind of odd team there. And like Predaking and also like Devastator, they kind of have the same kind of color scheme for the most part all throughout. And I just like it. Again, you know, it's, you know, with the head combining with the two little ears or whatever you want to call them, antennas sticking up, and the faceplate, or not faceplate, but the face. I think it looks awesome. We've got some people here. So K-Bar, he says, as far as this haul, he's got United Warriors, Baldigus, Solution Set, Dr. Heisman for Titans Returns Fort Max. And he said he took advantage of the $50 Trypticons from Ollie's. Yeah, Mike, he did too. I think he bought like a dozen of those things. Yeah. Let's see. Well, we're going to talk about Thundercats Roar and the backlash tonight. Yes, we are. And K-Bar says, talk binders for him, Rail Racer, Baldigus, if I'm saying that correctly, I don't know. Superion and Devastator. And Jonathan Knight says Minosaur is the top one for him. He really likes the cars, and it looks cool in the animation. Then he says Devastator, Bruticus, and Predaking are his other three. So a lot of Devastator love. I think I'm the only person that didn't name Devastator. I still think it's cool. I just like the other ones a little bit better. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and tackle this Thundercats cartoon before we get into the G1 reissues and stuff. So we've all seen the picture, and it's kind of got that Teen Titans Go look about it, where it like the cartoon animation that was done in the 80s. I loved it. Whenever they redid it in 2011, I loved that as well. I heard another show where I was talking with one of the guys because they were saying on their show, they were like, the cartoon didn't do well, so they canceled it. And I was like, well, that's not true. The cartoon was a success, but the toys didn't sell. So therefore, they canceled the cartoon, is the way that actually happened for the 2011 series. I wish they would have came out with that, because that felt like Thundercats to me. This new thing here, and then I'll say this piece and let you guys carry on with it. I don't know why they decided to reboot Thundercats that way, because they're like, we're taking a new direction. It's going to be comical and stuff like that, and cater to kids, where I'm like, well, if you're catering it to kids, you're not really bringing in us Thundercat fans from 2011 or even the 80s. You're catering to a whole new audience. So you're taking us Thundercat fans out of it. And why not just make a new property? That's the one thing I didn't understand, is why not just make it a whole new property if you're changing the direction that it's going to be, and you're changing the animation and who its demographic is, small children. Then I don't know why you named it Thundercats. I don't know. Who else has more to like add to it? Like I've got more, but I don't like it.
I mean, I'll go. Who wants to go? I'll go if no one else does. So this one's hard for me because I understand that there's a ton of different styles that you could go with for this. And one would be the one that I grew up with, which, like the intro as well as, most of the episodes is fantastic. And I feel like even if you didn't grow up in the 80s, you've seen the Thundercats intro and heard the song. You know a little bit about it, even if you weren't born then. And it's pretty iconic. Is it Transformers and G.I. Joe? No, it didn't go quite as deep. And the toy lines didn't go as deep. I think LJN had that toy line. That was the toy, yeah. LJN had the toy line. So there's lots of things that go into like, well, why wasn't it as iconic as Transformers? But for me, I have all the old box sets and all those things, and I do have most of the original figures for like the first 20. So all the major main characters from the second seasons. And I bought the Matty Collector series that was short-lived, and I think those are fantastic. In fact, in my Transformers room, I've got some G.I. Joe, some Transformers. I've got one shelf that's just those Thundercats figures. So I would say I'm a big fan, but I'm not like a super fan. And for me, when I saw that picture, it just felt like, and Josh already mentioned this, like they left out part of the demographic that your built-in Thundercat audience that's already there. And you completely left them out because I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone. I don't know anyone that enjoys that particular style that they're going with more than they do the original stuff, or even the 2011 stuff. So the idea that they're just catering to the people that watch the Teen Titans Go or that Steven Universe style animation, I don't understand their thinking with it. I feel like I missed a chapter. Like when I saw the picture and I started reading comments, I feel like there was something missing from the story that I haven't read yet of why they did that. So it's not something I'm interested in. I'm not going to watch it. That's just not my Thundercats. So
got a couple of comments here, and then Dr. Prime, you can go next. Jonathan McKnight, he says, what has me pissed is all the non-Thundercats fans saying that we shouldn't be pissed because it's just a kid's show and it's not for adults. Carudo, he says, I'm doing a big pass on Thundercats Roar. And he says, yeah, it's sad they're wasting the license on this. Jonathan McKnight also says, it's so lazy. They don't want to invent a new IP. And imagine if Netflix made Voltron comedic kids show, and also, everybody's like, I wish Netflix would have, kept this on, because also like Thundercats, it wasn't like it was a big deal, but like really neither was Voltron. And then Netflix and DreamWorks, they were like, this is how we want to do it, to where everyone can watch this, and let's make this an awesome show. To where it got toys out there for kids and adult collectors. Thundercats could have done the same thing. But yeah. Dr. Prime, what are your thoughts on it? Are you gonna watch this cartoon?
I will say this the same way I said with all the reboots Cartoon Network has been hashing out recently. They must be high on something, because I've seen the ratings for certain shows, and just Teen Titans Go is doing bad for certain people. Like, I don't know why Cartoon Network keeps rebooting old franchises. I will definitely not be watching this.
What about did you watch the 2011 cartoon series? Was that also Cartoon Network?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that version was a lot better than what they're probably going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it better than the '80s Thundercats cartoon, the original, because that one it was meant to sell toys, and it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I thought like the 2011 one went pretty deep with like the world building. It felt pretty deep for what we got from it. And here's the thing, you know, this new one, it's comedy adventure. That's kind of how they're calling it. That's the new thing that the kids want, is comedy adventure. I'm sorry, the 2011 series had tons of comedy, but they just didn't talk down to people. It was something that adults could enjoy or kids could enjoy.
Yeah.
I remember my brother watching the 2011 version, and I remember he went out to the store, and I think he bought at least 3 versions of the sword, just because he wanted 3 versions of the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really. I mean, I never really was a huge Thundercat fan, but I always liked Thundercats, and for whatever reason, I'm really burned about this one. I'm really angry about it. For a number of reasons. For one, we had the Matty Collector license that went bust on us, so we never got all our figures to begin with. This may be the reason why, because they were working on some sort of deal behind closed doors, which obviously prevented Super 7 from taking over, doing more figures. But in addition, the 2011 series was a lot more intelligent. And now we're going to the typical Cartoon Network, bottom of the barrel, brainless humor, and really cheap animation. And I'm just, I can't deal with that. That they just killed it. I mean, when you look at the '80s one, you got Thundercats, ho!
Yeah.
Sorry. But you know,
that's great.
When you were a kid, that was epic. You know, the sword over his head and that. The symbol, the Thundercat logo, just in the air, and I mean the animation, even in the '80s one, that was really well done. I mean that was really cool animation back then, and you knew you were watching something really awesome. I mean even back then, and the same thing with the 2011. I mean they did their own thing a little bit, but it still worked. It was still Thundercats. It still felt like this is Thundercats, and I think they were building up to something in that series, but they never had a chance to follow through with it, unfortunately. But now we're just the typical brainless, mindless, talking down to children kind of level of animation. There's just no quality in it. And I've watched Teen Titans, and I did try to give it a chance. I couldn't take it. It's just really nonsense. They did the same thing with Scooby-Doo. They did a new series, which they also destroyed. And they've done that with other shows in the past. The Powerpuff Girls is another example, if you're into that. But I don't know. Cartoon Network just has a very low opinion as to who the viewers are and their intellectual levels. I mean, where's the quality?
I feel like I've talked about this with some of the guys too. I don't know if it was on show or not, but we talked about. I keep talking about like what we consume, and we need to stop consuming stuff that we know is trash, but we're still clicking it and we're giving people views and empowering them to go back in the boardroom and say, look how successful this is. I'm really talking about Transformers here. And I just want to talk about for just a second to prove that point. You know, we got, after the movie started doing well, we got, you know, Transformers Prime. And I think we were talking about this, Josh, this week, maybe Dakota was too. The Prime series was so well done. It looked good. The music was good. They had Brian Tyler doing the score, who did Iron Man 3 and some of these other recent superhero movies. The score was fantastic. The story was fantastic. The animation looked good. The voice acting was pretty on point. And then after that, we started to kind of go in this other direction, and you know, the robots in disguise thing kind of happened, and yeah, they kicked out some cool little villain toys and fun concepts and things like that. But the series to me never felt like it had the heart that Prime did, and some of that is the money that you put into the voice acting. Some of it's the money you put into the writing. It's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. It just felt like they took a slight lazy slant to me. And now, you know, we've kind of seen what's coming forward with that, and everyone has at least heard or watched, unfortunately, the Titans Return and the Combiner Wars and Power of the Primes. And this whole go 90 animation thing. And the thing is, like, I watched the first episode to see if I could get behind it and watch it, and I could barely get through it. And after that, I decided I wasn't going to consume it. And that's really hard for me because Transformers is my main hobby. I collect a lot of stuff, but I'll always say Transformers is still my main hobby. It's where my heart lies. And I love Star Wars and those things. Transformers is the thing I want the most. So it's really hard for me to say I can't watch it or I'm not going to watch it. But I felt like I had to put the line in the sand. I'm not going to consume that. And, you know, I'm guilty of watching the Bay movies. And do I think the Bay movies are my Transformers? Not really. It is cool. The first movie I actually enjoyed, and I watched it again recently, and I still enjoyed it. But, the last two and even the second one, they're just guilty of being fairly just garbage, but I've consumed them and that's on me. But for these animated series, as they go forward, if people keep watching them, right? And if we, with, how curious we are as human beings, have to click those things, part of the blame is on us.
Yeah. Well, I look at what they're doing with Thundercats, and they're not the only ones falling victim to this. Also, Ninja Turtles is.
Yeah.
I watched all of that newest edition of the Ninja Turtles, and yeah, sure, it was probably, what was it, 4 seasons? Probably time for it to end, and maybe you reboot the thing and maybe tell some new stories. I mean, there's enough stories out there for Ninja Turtles that you could tell, that you can keep on with it. But I get that kids want a new, fresh look at something maybe. But I don't think that this new version is the one that they were looking at. And it goes back to what Jonathan McKnight said earlier. Like, I don't need people that aren't Thundercats fans to tell me that I should feel guilty for not liking the new version that they're producing because it's not for me. Like, that's this. If I own a property, that's the stupidest way I could look at something. If I'm trying to sell something to you, like if I'm trying to sell you, Rick, I know that you drink Dr. Pepper, and I'm trying to sell you. I'm like, hey, Rick, you like this? You're like, yeah, man, give it to me. I want to buy more. But I know that Sportibus doesn't, or never had it. And I'm like, hey, man, just, try it. I'm going to try to get something that, I'm like, so what do you like in a drink, Sportibus? And he tells me, I'm going to keep it as close to this as possible, even if I change a little, like there's Diet Dr. Peppers, and then, or, they add like little bitty flavors or whatever, like they do with Pepsi. Like there's regular Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, and then there's cherry Pepsi, vanilla Cokes, how they change little things up. But I'm still going to keep the core of it the same. That way, hey, maybe if, again, like if I'm selling the Coke, and I know that Rick just drinks Coke, but Sportibus tells me that he likes a little bit of vanilla. He likes the taste of vanilla. I'm going to keep, here's vanilla Coke. It still has that core Coke taste to it, to where, hey, maybe I get in Sportibus, but I still keep Rick. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to just be like, well, we'll just make a vanilla soda, a cream soda. And there, now we got Sportibus, but now I've totally forgotten Rick. I could have had you both. That's where I don't understand this.
Yeah. And I know we have, so there might be some viewers saying, well, you haven't seen it yet, so how do you know? Here's my thing. Like, I know how far, like, I want my style changed as far as animation, and that change is too dramatic for me to get behind. And I got behind Transformers Animated, and I loved what Derek and that whole group did with Transformers Animated.
And right? It was funny, and it was intelligent, and it was interesting.
And the style was different, right? It was different, but it was not this ridiculous comedy crap. I'm not a fan of the style. It's not for me. It was too dramatic of a change for me. And again, Transformers Animated, that was pretty dramatic, but not this dramatic.
Well, they still retained the familiar robotic look, even though it was toonized, but it still felt, it had that look and feel still there. This is like, no offense to little children, but it's like a 3-year-old just, doodled out a Lion-O, and they're like, let's run with it. And then It just I want quality. Kids deserve quality. I don't care if it's a 4-year-old watching it.
Mm-mm.
They all deserve a quality animated show with some intellect and not just this thing that has no knees. You know?
And they do know the difference. I was telling Josh or someone this week, I think it was this week or last week, that when my kid's 5, when he discovered Transformers Prime after watching Robots in Disguise, he had seen some G1 stuff, like the animated G1 movie. He's seen that. But he watched Robots in Disguise, and I DVR'd it for him. He watched them all. I, however, fell out. But he watched them all. And after he discovered Prime, he looked at me one day and he said, "Dad, this is so much better. I love Megatron and Starscream. This is so good." They know. He's 5. He knows the difference between the quality of Transformers Prime and Robots in Disguise. He's a kid. So
yeah, you know, whenever I stopped watching cartoons, because I watched for a long time, because I had Transformers, G.I. Joe, Mask, you know, Thundercats, you know, all that stuff, and I watched it all the way through, and all these different cartoon series. And then my brother, middle brother, he's 4.5 years younger than me. And then the youngest brother, he's 8 years younger than me. So we're all 4 years apart. So we had, you know, like we grew up during different periods. And I'm watching my stuff. And then I see my brother, he's getting his cartoons, which weren't my cartoons. So I'm like, okay, so what new cartoons, what new toys and stuff are they showing? And I see that he's watching like Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats and like a lot of Nickelodeon stuff, I guess, was popular then. And Cat Dog. I'm like, what is this shit? I'm like, and like it was like kind of gross humor and fart jokes and stuff like that. Like it's trying to gross the kids out. And hey, you might like that stuff. You might have grew up on it. But I'm saying that that's not what my properties, the way that they like were the cartoons went, which they're not rebooting Cat Dog and Ren and Stimpy. They're rebooting my old property. So that's where I'm like, why are you trying to make my old property what y'all did in the 90s? You know, like it just doesn't make sense to me.
If anything, they should be trying to upgrade it, right? I mean, like even He-Man, and some people might debate this, but the 2000X He-Man series, I thought it was really well done.
Absolutely.
Really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, no matter what animation style you like, you have to agree that the stories were upgraded. So, and it was deep, the stuff with Evil Lynn and the Nameless One and Hordak, and it was well done. So I felt like that was an upgrade. And like Josh said, the core was maintained.
Right.
Dr. Prime, you know, you're younger than the rest of us. So you may have rewatched some of these cartoons from the 80s properties that I've talked about, and you've probably seen some of these 90s cartoons or even grew up as those were your cartoons.
Yeah.
Where do you feel kind of like in line with this, even though you said that you don't like that new Thundercats Roar the way it's done, but where our kind of minds are? Well,
from what I see my siblings watching, I don't even want to dive into what my sister watches. No. Like when I see my brothers watch on TV compared to what I grew up watching, it's different. Although my other brother watches something about Jake Paul, but that's besides the point. I mean, like my teenage brother downstairs, he likes watching Transformers, Robots in Disguise. He likes watching Voltron on Netflix. I remember watching Voltron, the original, and the one that was on Nicktoons a couple of years ago. That one was actually really good.
Okay.
Voltron's another good example of an upgrade. I mean, I don't think anybody can debate that new Voltron series on Netflix it's an upgrade. It's so quality.
Well, not only that, it's okay for change. Like they did change some things in the new Netflix Voltron series. We're not talking about change being bad. It's just the kind of change that's going on here. Just to clarify, this is really like way beyond left field here with the Thundercats Roar.
Well, like when they went from the 80s to the 2011 series, the core of it stayed the same. And they're like, hey, we'll change the animation a little bit. And hey, we'll change little bitty things. Maybe characters are a little bit different. But for the main core was there to where you're like, I can totally get behind this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jonathan McKnight says we should be challenging kids' imaginations, not just feeding them hollow corporate cash-in shows.
Yeah.
Whenever you said it earlier that this looks cheap animation, and you know that it's something that doesn't cost as much as what with the Ninja Turtles as well. This new animation that they're doing, it costs way cheaper to do that than it did kind of their 3D style that they did with this past series. Same thing with the Thundercats. That this new Thundercats Roar is going to be so much cheaper to produce than the 2011 series.
And that's the big point about the not consuming and letting people know that we want better. We know it's cheap. It's bound to be. If you look at the best animated series, they usually follow a movie, and the first one that comes to mind is Batman the Animated Series. We did not get that until the Batman movie blew up the whole world. Right?
It's still a classic.
And it's still a classic because they put the money, the time, the best talent, and they were challenging things too. That series was dark. Their backgrounds were painted on a black surface. That had never been done. So, and it was different. The style was different. And look, it's hard for me sometimes now to watch some of the DC movies if it doesn't look like Bruce Timm's animated or the JLU stuff. And it's tough. Like whenever I watch it, the first thing I think is, all right, I gotta put that to the side a little bit because I know it's not going to look as good as Bruce Timm stuff. It's rough, but yeah, it usually comes after the success of something. And here we have something. It almost is like, all right, we have this thing this style that the kids like. We're just going to take brands that no one's doing anything with currently and just put them through the blender with that style and see what pops out. Which is funny. On Twitter this week, I know you guys saw like all the different versions of all the brands that were put through the blender of that style. There was a Transformers one I saw in my feed. I want to say I saw one other one. There were at least two in my feed this week where people were kind of poking fun at it. Like, what if they took this and put it through there? It was dreadful. It was a nightmare.
I saw that too. They did Ed and Eddie, Adventure Time, Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah.
They did a Transformers one too.
Mm-hmm.
But
there was another thing that real quick on you mentioned earlier, the Matty Collector Thundercats figures and Super 7 saying, hey, we want those. And then I forget who it is. Is it Warner Brother or somebody?
That sounds right.
Somebody, picture head is like, no, we're doing something with Thundercats, so we don't want you doing it. And now we see that this is what they were coming out with. Like, why can't these two things coexist? I don't get it because it's not like, oh, we want to produce our own toys and your, basically masterpiece looking style is going to look too similar to our cartoon style. Like, it's completely different. That's the reason why I've been talking about this thing for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, however long it's been, is the fact that they're so far apart that if they at least said, hey, since we're doing this and we're just going to be selling these little action figures, which I don't even like, their action figures are going to be cheap as crap anyway, because that's the way the cartoon model looks, that I don't understand why I couldn't keep on, like Super 7 couldn't keep on giving me my Thundercats figures, considering that they don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
Like if you put them right next to each other, and if I was someone that didn't know what Thundercats was, I'd be like, these two things aren't the same. I wouldn't even draw a comparison to them. So I just don't, I don't get that. Again, whoever owns the Thundercats, property or brand, they could have been licensing it out to Super 7 and making some coin there, keep adult collectors happy, and then you can focus with cartoon and your kids and stuff like that. Because I can guarantee you, I'm not going to be watching the cartoon or buying their action figures.
I do think they're underestimating the brand of Thundercats as well. I was walking through the parking lot at work. I have about 500 people that work where I'm working, and I know some of them. I've never seen some in my life. I remember walking through the parking lot recently, and I've got on the back of my truck, I've got like a little tow hitch that's the Autobot symbol, and I've got a Transformers license plate. So this guy says, "Oh, you like Transformers?" He's like, "Man, I can get behind that." He's like, "But you know what I like? Thundercats." This was a guy I'd never talked to this guy before in my life. I've never seen him, but he struck up a conversation because of the Autobot symbol. And he was about my age, and he started talking about Thundercats, and then he started naming them. And this guy doesn't collect action figures. He doesn't read comics. This is how iconic it was in his brain from his childhood. And he started talking about Panthro. And anyway, I think they're underestimating the brand. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I don't see let's see, Netflix did that show or just released the second season. I guess it's called season 2 of The Toys That Made Us. The only one I've watched so far is the Transformer one. Watched it last night. I plan on watching them all, but that was the one where, I skipped to I think it's episode 2, and I'm like, I'm watching that one first. It's Transformers. Hello Kitty, you'll have to wait.
Yes.
That relevant in my life. But they said on there, like, here's these Transformers, and like, hey, here's this. Well, that's cool. And it was whenever they were looking at the cartoon and everything, and that it was the cartoon that sold it and made it a powerhouse, where they were like, that they had to make sure that, the cartoon was helped selling the toys. It was a, grand part of selling these toys, and was able to get them after 2 seasons. And season 1's only like a dozen episodes or 13 episodes or something like that. Season 2 is long, but after 2 seasons, able to get a movie feature for a cartoon where they spend the first 20 minutes or 15 minutes just killing off everybody so they can bring you out new toys. I mean, dude, that means that cartoon is very powerful and influencing to the toys.
Yeah, and TV was a bigger influencer then, and I understand, like, we've seen them try to go, like Transformers tried to go 90, Voltron, Netflix. I think Voltron is probably the best example we have of someone doing an upgrade on a medium that people are watching and it's relevant. I think Netflix is super relevant. I think they put it in the right place. And let's be honest, is Voltron as popular as G.I. Joe? No. Is it as popular as Transformers? No. They put it in the right place, and all of a sudden people are talking about it as much as they're talking about the other brands.
The only thing that pisses me off about that show is, like, every season's like 4 episodes, and I'm like, I need more. I need more.
Right. We want 100 episodes. Yeah.
They're also coming out with the new She-Ra cartoon.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
So we can segue into that even. One thing, another thing here with the Thundercats. Jonathan McKnight says, I was more into Thundercats and Voltron than I was Transformers when I was little. And then K-Bar says they glossed over Beast Wars though, and the Toys That Made Us. Yeah, they gave Beast Wars as more than enough time than what they didn't need more time.
It's not that bad.
So it was Transformers, not Shellformers. We can get into the Netflix doing She-Ra, Princess of Power, which to see that instead of He-Man first, a little strange. But whenever you first sent me that picture, Rick, I thought it was a live action. That's why I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the cast and I was like, really? And I saw that it was going to be a cartoon. I'm like, oh, okay, well, whatever. You know,
that one promo shot looks so much better than the Thundercats one.
Yeah, they haven't shown a clip yet, and I feel like since we got that little promo pic or two, I feel like SDCC is going to unleash a lot. I feel like we're going to see a lot this year. There's a lot of brands and rumors that I've seen that are holding back, and I just have a feeling SDCC this year is going to actually have a lot of stuff. It felt like last year was a little lackluster, but I think this year there might be a lot of stuff that we're going to see. Some good, some bad. But I'm still hopeful for She-Ra until I see the clip. Because Thundercats, I saw the clip and I know kind of how the animation is going to go, and I want to see the clip from She-Ra before I judge it.
I want She-Ra to be successful, so we'll get hopefully a He-Man.
Yeah.
And how are they going to do the toys? So you got Super 7 going to be doing their like classics filmation stuff. Are Mattel? Are they just going to come out with like little cheaper style figures or toys, or I would think that you'd want to try to sell some toys on this thing.
You would think. I mean,
like Playmates, they seem to be doing pretty good with their Voltron stuff. You know, like,
yeah, and Playmates isn't the best toy company either. But
no, they're human figures. I was excited about, and they look like trash. They look like they're like $2 figures instead of $10 figures.
But a lot of us bought the Voltron lines, and I mean. Yeah. It's not bad. They're not bad. The electronics are really cool. So I'm hoping that it's geared towards boys and girls. You know, like I think the original one was. I mean, I think that the toys were a little more geared towards the girls, but we had He-Man. So, but I'm hoping that this one.
And the Evil Horde. I mean, that was
Horde is
Sally right there.
That was the best. I thought they were better than the villains over on other than Skeletor and Merman. I love the Horde.
I remember Count Marzo telling stories like, yeah, man, I was in there looking for the Evil Horde, and like girls telling him like, oh, your owl's over there. Like, shut up. I'm here to buy some She-Ra toys.
Right.
Don't bother me.
I hope it's good. And I mean, I obviously I understand why she was coming before He-Man. That's where we are right now, right? The girl power. It's everywhere. I mean, Star Wars is. I mean, everybody's doing it.
But so also, He-Man's tied up with a movie line too.
It is exactly, and it's kind of been in that little lull for a while now.
Movie hell, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like you guys remember when Spider-Man was in that movie hell? This is years before the Tobey Maguire, and they couldn't figure it out. It was there forever. Finally, they started releasing Spider-Man movies.
They just kept on cranking them out.
They sure have. Everybody's taking a turn.
It was like a home run derby. You know, it's just once you hit it, like forget about it. It's either going to go over or not because there's another pitch coming.
Yeah,
let's take another swing at it. Well, Dr. Prime, you brought up the She-Ra. So are you like how familiar are you with the series? Do you watch the cartoon on Netflix or?
I will probably watch one.
Did he freeze up?
My uncle had all the episodes of She-Ra and He-Man on cassettes.
There you go.
Because he's a big TV show watcher. I think he's got pretty much every cartoon from the 80s and sitcom and drama shows on cassettes in the 80s.
I need to hit me up with his address. I need to come visit him and hang out.
Just because of him, I was actually able to start watching Roseanne and Xena.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, Xena. Oh, a little tip. If you like Lucy Lawless, Xena Warrior Princess, right? You like? Hey, you might want to watch Spartacus. So,
yeah, I already have to track down Hercules. So,
well, I'm just saying she's in there. Lucy Lawless is in Spartacus, and she might have a little present for you. It was on Stars, and they're like, oh, clothing optional. So, let's see. We've gone on pretty long about this, so like I don't even know if we're gonna get into the whole versus thing because just can save that for another time. That's great. Let's get into this G1 reissue for Transformers, though. So we saw that Hasbro is going to be reissuing, and it looks like they're going to do that 80s style packaging, which I absolutely love. Looks so much better than the commemorative series or Takara collection, books and stuff. So I really do dig that. But they're going to be coming out with a G1 Hot Rod, and if it sells well, my question is, do you think that they might try to relaunch this reissue again? And if they do, what are some of the characters, or toys, figures that you want to see sooner than later? Because we know that we've had some reissued before, some out there that are just knockoffs. They actually haven't been reissued. But what are some of the ones that you'd like to see? I know I've got my list, but kind of went through already.
Well, I'll start off. There are some that I'd like to see reissued, but unfortunately the molds have been either lost, damaged, or destroyed. So my pick would
let's say they recast. Let's say they recast it, and
I would say if I really do hope this is a successful relaunch of the reissues, and I do hope Hot Rod does sell well, and I hope Walmart actually stocks these things. But I hope they continue with things that we haven't seen in a while, like Sunstreaker, Mirage, Jazz and Hound, and the Seeker Jets. Megatron might be a problem. I don't know, but those I'd like to see.
Yeah, because I was thinking like Megatron would be a problem. I was gonna say no to Optimus Prime because there's plenty of reissues out there of him already, and they would do the small smokestacks, which I'd like them to keep it as close to original 80s. It needs to be like Rick can take his 5-year-old into the store, and then there's that 80s style packaging and the toys exactly like it was in the 80s. To be like, son, it's almost like I had a time machine and bought this back in 85, 86, whatever it is, and I brought it back to you because this is exactly the way I had it as a kid. I think there's something just special about that versus the commemorative series box, and I don't know. There's just something special about that, and having the artwork on the back, have the little red decoder for the tech specs. I mean, that would be awesome. Some of the ones that I named as well, Sunstreaker, Mirage, those are ones that didn't get a reissue. Let's see. I also said Shockwave. Like it's a knockoff though out there. But I thought that he'd be one you'd be able to get away with, and it has electronics, so that would be cool for kids. And then I just started getting into the some of the Japanese stuff to where I was like, the Headmaster Juniors, Headmasters, Target Masters, God Masters, some of the stuff that's more expensive to obtain. I think that would be cool.
Minerva, that whole
Yes. I don't even collect G1 stuff anymore, but if they were like, here's a G1 Minerva, bought.
Even a completely yellow one runs you about $1,500 now. She's a lot of them are out of control. So I would love to see that.
Maybe a Power Master Optimus Prime.
Well, they did in the commemorative series. They reissued a Power Master Optimus Prime. I actually just sold mine not too long ago, and that was a few years ago that they released it. So, me personally, I was trying to think of stuff that they haven't reissued yet, because we know they've reissued Devastator, and they've done the 6-shot, they've done Metroplex, and let's see, they haven't done the Dinobots,
Well, those would definitely sell. Yeah.
What about you, Dr. Prime?
Oh, you just said one of the reissues that I hope to see, the Dinobots, because I actually really did like G1 Dinobots. Another one I'm thinking of that what I hope to see later in the future would probably either be Galvatron. I doubt they would do it though, but Shockwave.
Yeah, I mean, well, Shockwave is definitely possible.
Use a submarine.
Yeah.
I forgot they were doing the whole submarine thing.
It's a triple changer.
Yeah, I forgot they were doing that.
Oh,
I would be really excited. I mean, I like the idea of going there and buying it for my kid and stuff, but I probably wouldn't buy it for me because I have most of them. But I still am lacking some of the Japanese stuff, and I can't even imagine. Like my head, I can't imagine the stuff that came out over there in like 90 through like 93. If any of that ever hit, it would tear the aftermarket to pieces. First of all, if you could go to the store and buy like Victory Saber box set or Blue Bacchus for like for like $50 instead of 4,000
or Atlas.
Or Die Atlas, like, or that, the big set of that. I mean, like, if they ever did that, it would tear the aftermarket up and people would have a fit. But I would be so thrilled. Dude, that would make me toy hunt again, like, every day. I'd be at my store every day.
You're talking about getting me back into cheap one collecting.
Yeah.
Like release the Japanese stuff here in America and Europe and Australia and stuff like that. The ones where we couldn't just go into our stores and there it was. Like even the American Transformers, we got a distribution problem. You know? Not to mention like trying to bring Japanese stuff over here.
You can't even find the little teeny pretender.
I can't even find Wave 2 of Power of the Prime.
Right.
Never seen one, Never saw Hunger either.
They do have to figure that out. The only thing that I would say the distribution was pretty good on was the Studio series. Like if you wanted a Blackout and if you toy hunted at least twice a week, you could find him. I found him. I've only seen him twice, but I did see him. Unlike some of the other stuff. So the Studio series, I think that was well distributed.
K-Bar, he says, I'd like to see, I think it would be cool if we saw the mini bots with like original style packaging. I was also on my list was the Micro Masters, where you got the little 4-packs. Yeah. And I love those things as a kid. Too. I would collect them today. I don't know about buying all the cities but I just love the little vehicles, the little 4-packs, and how they had like their little group.
Race Car Patrol, Monster Truck Patrol, all that stuff.
Jets and stuff. I would buy those for my nephew, and I think the transformations are very simple, and a lot of them have basically the same transformation. Yeah. They're just different molds. To where I think like you could still do those for pretty cheap.
Yeah,
little 4-packs. What are you talking about? Maybe $15, $20 max. I'm thinking about maybe $15, something like that. I'd buy those for my nephew, dude. I love those. Whenever it was, we're taking a road trip and driving 2,000 miles. Like what toys do you want to bring? And I'm like, well, I can bring like. Optimus and 6-Shot with me, or I can bring like 30 of these little Micro Masters.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's what I'm doing. They're so fun. I love them. He also says they should reissue Black Zarak. Yep.
But without the GPS problems.
Yeah. So I mean, make the improvements that are necessary on that. He says, I'd love to see some G2 color reissues as well.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Grimlock would be nice.
Once we get the Japanese stuff, though, that first, then G2.
Yeah, we're older. We're closer to death. So
I'm just looking at saving. I'm thinking I could save like $20,000. So
Yeah, well, as soon as you said blue backs, I'm like, oh my god, yeah. Dude. Yeah. And Galaxy Shuttle, and no, I don't have to mess with your Monstructor. I'm gonna get Dino King. Like,
I really think it would be amazing. Like, people wouldn't know what to do. Can you imagine the websites like Sabertron and TFW and all that? Imagine the websites if that news ever hit. They would implode.
We have a meltdown.
Dude, what was like whenever they said that they were gonna reissue the the Encore Fort Max, and there was some dude that sold his Fort Max in box for like I forget what it was, like $2,500 or something. Like the day before it was announced, it was like, dude, you're so freaking lucky, I'm and if the person that bought it, they were probably so pissed.
If they ever do that, I do like the idea of like Netflix housing all of the Transformers series. So if they're putting like these Japanese things, even if it's limited to just a handful of them, and it's Victory, you can go to Netflix and watch Victory. There needs to be a place where you can watch the cartoons to support the stuff that's in the stores, so everybody can experience it. So, and for years that stuff wasn't available. You had to buy bootlegs. I've had bootleg VHSs of that stuff up until what, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago? It's been pretty recent that they had like really good, better quality versions that you could actually buy.
Yeah, and Shout Factory came out with the
Shout Factory, yeah,
the subtitles,
yeah,
stuff like that. And I know Caruto, he's done some stuff, I think, for like Zone and some Beast Wars Neo or something. I don't know anything about Beast Wars, so I don't know if I'm calling them the correct things. But anyways, animal Transformers. Just taking shots at Dakota all over the place, man.
Hey, it's fun.
He can't reply. Oh yeah, Jonathan McKnight says, "Man, I forgot how cool the MicroMasters were." Oh yeah, they're so awesome. If they came out today, man, I'd go buy them. Yeah. And you know what? That'd probably be the first toy, because usually, like, I get a Transformer, I'm like, all right, let's mess with him a little bit, and then all right, we'll do maybe a review on him. Then I'll put him on the shelf, and that's where he lives now, and he usually stays there. I don't ever like play with him, but I would play with those little things, dude. Let's see. Yeah, Caruto did Beast Wars 2, and they are releasing Beast Wars Neo this year. All right. They're all animal Transformers. So, let's see here. We've gone a little bit over an hour. And we basically had 2 topics. We had a Mount Rushmore haul and 2 topics. I think the general feeling of the room is no one's gonna watch Thundercats.
Right.
We need to see the animation for She-Ra.
Yes, I can't wait to see. I want to see a clip.
Is it DreamWorks as well?
Yeah,
I think so.
Same one doing Voltron. I have some faith, and they did good with the voice acting. I think it was K-Bar and Jonathan McKnight were saying, like, the new Transformers, they were like, voice acting terrible. That's what I thought too. When I just watched the first episode, I was like, these voices don't seem like they match up with these robots. It wasn't believable for me. And then he also said something about there's a battle between like Megatron and somebody else, and it splits to another scene, and then all of a sudden you see them walking out the door, their friends or something. It was like you're standing there like, I have no idea what happened, and it's because they had to cram it all in 11 minutes, so they can't build any substance with the characters, and you really don't care about them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm doing the same thing that you said you're doing, Rick, is that I'll wait until they're finished, and then I'll try to get like just maybe power through it or something. And maybe if I'm watching them consecutively and kind of binge watching them, maybe after a few quick episodes that I'm like, okay, this guy's getting developed a little bit better, and maybe his voice isn't as annoying as what I thought it was. There's some shows that I have to wait till a season ends. So I can watch it like that. And then some I'm just like, I can watch every week. And
yeah, whenever they have like an SDC or a toy fair, I never want to be like, or a HasCon or whatever it is they're doing. I never want to, when they say something like, yeah, the fans really loved it, I need to know that I didn't contribute to that analytic. I just need to know that I didn't so I can feel good about myself.
Oh, where is this? Let's see. Oh, there it is. You see the chat?
Mm-mm.
Bar's wanting to play this little game with me, huh?
What's the chat saying?
Oh, well, he's doing little emojis where a monkey, and he's like Optimus or whatever, then a rat trap, and a rhino, Rhinox or something, and then I did the poop emoji and I said Beast Wars. So. All right, so we'll go ahead and end it there. Talked a lot about, unless you guys have anything else to add for this show. No? All right, so we'll go ahead and sign out. And thank you guys, Sportibus and Dr. Prime, for being on. Glad you guys were able to join us again. So
Thank you.
open invitation. If you guys want to come on again, just hit me up. We do the show every other Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Cybercast should be up in video form. And Dr. Prime, tell people where they can find you, man.
You guys can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dr. Prime.
All right, and Sportibus?
Find me on YouTube under Sportimus and on Twitter as Sportimus Prime.
All right, and Rick?
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Shatrdglassjazz.
And you can find me, G1Xtron, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, the G1Xtron. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys later. Peace.